Hey there, bold ones. Welcome to another episode of Act Bold. Today on the podcast, I have actor David John Clark without an E. He's from Adelaide, Australia. He is getting up early for me. I am staying up late for him. And we are going to have a great discussion. Not only do David and I have in common that we both, well, in my case, I relaunched my career, and in his case, he's doing his acting career as a second act. But we also both have podcasts, so we have a lot to get into with this. And with that, let's just get into it. So, hey, David, so nice to finally have you on Act
Hello.
Bold.
Good
Hello.
morning from me and good evening for you, as they say.
Yes, 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 yes. You can even see it. It's nice and bright where you are and sort of dark and dusky where I am.
I love it.
Yeah. So, David, you have the Late Bloomer podcast, the Late Bloomer Actor podcast,
That is me.
very aptly named. How'd you come up with
Thank you.
that?
Oh,
Just
well,
kidding.
no, it's an interesting story because it's funny how things happen in life in general. But I was applying for a scholarship for an acting course years and years ago, and I wasn't in a financial position to pay for it, so I tried to do a crowdfunding. And when I logged in and made the crowdfunding page, I called it the Late Bloomer Actor, and there it was born. So when I
Nice.
decided to do
Did
the
you
podcast,
actually make the did you
no,
make your budget?
no, I didn't.
No.
And
Oh, duh.
I couldn't make the course work with my shift work and everything like that. But
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
it journey later on because when I thought about making a podcast, um, obviously I needed a name, and that just came straight to it. I'd done a thing here in Adelaide where I was in mentoring new actors, and the guy running the course talked about branding, and he mentioned the Late Bloomer Actor that I'd used in this fundraising thing as a brand name, and it was like a light bulb moment. And when I decided to make a podcast, it was a easy decision.
It was a no-brainer. I love that.
Definitely.
So, I definitely had a lot of thoughts when I decided to create my podcast, which I'm happy to get into afterwards, but I would love to know, like, what was your reasoning for starting a podcast?
Well, ever since I got into acting, I started up a Facebook page here in Adelaide. It initially started out as just a way of connecting with the actors that I was doing a course with. And then when that course finished, I expanded it and opened it up to Adelaide actors. It's called the Adelaide Actors and Extras page to share opportunities and to share information that came across my desk with everyone that was in the group. And that slowly expanded. And I think we've got like 4,000 members in that group now. So my interest in that was always to share information to make people's journeys easier. Anything that I learnt or anything that I found mistakes in or came across, I wanted to share with people so that might speed up their journey. Which is
Mm,
why that's it's the very same reason I started the podcast was to share my journey as an actor and the ups and downs and the troughs and the, the peaks that come with it. So that might speed up other people's paths on that journey. So that's the primary reason I did it is to share information.
interesting. Okay.
Mm,
Yes, I love that as well about having a podcast, about being a coach is just kind of I truly believe that nobody is my competition
mm,
and, that I get the roles that are meant for me and vice versa, right? The other people get the roles that are meant for them. And I don't know, I guess I believe a bit in karma, so kind of what goes around comes around and all that.
mm.
But that all sounds so altruistic. For me, I definitely had a master plan when I created my my podcast.
Insert evil laugh.
Yes, 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 exactly. And it was honestly to give me a platform to network with people that I normally wouldn't have a chance to network with
Mm,
as one human being to another, not just as an actor, please consider me. I
mm,
didn't want to have those conversations with people that I wanted to work with. I wanted to have the conversations like we're having. Like
mm.
we both happen to be in this industry, we both happen to love it. And yes, that gives us a lot of common ground, but there's still so much about both of us, right? We're full-fledged human beings, not just
Yes.
actors.
Mm.
And so the podcast really has been a wonderful platform to network with people and to make those connections. And I've definitely gotten direct requests from some of the casting directors who have been on my show, which I may or may not have gotten before. No telling, but
Mm.
also because it creates an actual friendship so that you can reach out, if I see something that reminds me of someone, I can just send them a text. Whereas I probably wouldn't have done that before, you know?
Yeah, yeah, but what I love to say, and I'm coming to you now as a listener of your show, is that it's a two-way street, and what we forget as podcast hosts is that there's people listening on the other end, and it's a bit like the audition. You very rarely get any feedback. The
Yes.
podcast world, even though there is that ability for listeners to reach out on Facebook or your Instagram or through their platforms, most people are listening to the show while they're out and about. They're out walking or they're on the jogging or in the gym or they're doing their housework, so they don't have that ability to give that feedback. Whereas when people are watching YouTube, you can jump straight on and type into the field. They were usually watching it on a screen, so they're still, but we don't get that feedback. And so, as a listener of your show, I can say I'm getting stuff from that. So, regardless of that, it's not the best word, but the selfishness that we put a show together for, hoping that we get those networks and that we meet people and we, find ways to improve our acting career. It's also is about that other side. It's about that listener that we're not hearing from. And so
For sure.
that's how I've connected with you, because I listen to you and I walk away and I get stuff as an actor. So
Ah, well, I
brilliant. Mm,
appreciate you saying that. Absolutely. And this is why for a while, I was just kind of doing career, advice.
mm,
And now I've gone back to doing interviews, honestly, because I really enjoy them.
mm,
To me, whenever I listen back to a podcast, which I do when it comes up in my feed, then I'll listen to my podcast just like I would listen to anyone else's.
mm.
Because then I can just kind of sit back and listen to it as an actor and kind of soak up everything that my guests have to say, or, harshly critique myself if I don't have a guest. um,
We all do that.
yes, exactly. But I also find that I think I'm one of those people that learns best by teaching.
Hmm.
And so a lot of the things that I am, putting out there into the world, like when I'm doing my talking head episodes, it's really all stuff that I'm saying. And listen up, you know, to really put it in my own head a lot of times and to empower
Mm.
people. Cause I think, there's so much about this industry that can be disempowering for actors
Definitely.
if you let it. Yeah.
Mm, mm.
And I think people get really, what's the word I'm looking for? Not brainwashed, but conditioned to believe that there's nothing they can do other than sit and wait.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah,
Especially in this new world that we live in post COVID
yeah.
now, is we have to find ways of getting out there and make, everyone says make your own work, and how you make that work is completely open to you. For me, it's my podcast. That's how I do it. It's how I make those connections and share information and articulate myself and have keep the techniques working, being able to talk and speak and be on camera and stuff like that. So and reaching out to people. So it's wonderful.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what do you think is the biggest benefit you've gotten? How many episodes do you have first?
I'm up
Good.
to 35, I think now. So just about to
35.
start season 4.
Oh,
So
wow.
I do 10 primary episodes a year. So that's with the guests, or I do the occasional full episode that's just by myself, but usually it's with a guest. So there are 10 primary episodes a year. That's January through to October, one a month. But I do my off script episodes now, which is when I've got something separate to say, a shorter, quick episode, so to speak, which I started them recently just to be able to throw some more information out. So it's one of those things. All of a sudden, you've gone from starting a podcast to being up to your 4th season. It just goes like that. So
Excuse me. It does. I just uploaded my 84th episode. which
Wow.
is just crazy,
Mm.
you
Big
know?
hundreds coming. That's a big number. Beautiful.
It is, and I do one a week, so it'll I don't know what the date is of it, but I should probably figure that out so I know
Plan
what
for it.
my
Plan for it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll do what you did, do a roundtable.
I love it. I love it. And I really admire you and any podcaster that does the weekly one because it's a lot of work and a week turns around real quick. I do my episodes monthly, and I find the stress of that um, business, you know, just oh my god, it's coming around. I've got to get it out, and then editing and making sure it works. So I mean, we're all living busy lives. If we've got a full time job like I do myself, it's hard work. So I
Yeah.
do envy anyone that admire anyone that can make it work. So great on for you for doing the weekly one.
Thank you. I honestly, I think, I committed to it, and so that's why I'm sticking with that.
Mm.
But sometimes I really feel like I'm doing a B minus instead of an A plus, just to get it done is better than not done.
Mm.
So,
That can be the negative side of doing a weekly one is I've got to get
yeah,
something out and I'll just put it out. And that I listened to a podcast the other day. It was talking about pod fade, and that's one of the biggest ones that people they just stop because they can't handle that. Whereas if it's becoming too much, change to a fortnightly show or to a monthly show because your listeners are still there. They're craving the information, so they'll come to you weekly or they'll come to you monthly. So they'll still
yeah,
be there for you. So, and you've hit 84 episodes. I'm at 35. The average podcast ends before they hit 7 episodes.
yes, I know it's
Mm.
crazy,
So
which is,
we're
yeah,
both successful there.
yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing that definitely helps is pre-recording stuff.
Mm.
So, pre-recording, pre-scheduling. We were talking just before we started the podcast. I used a script with it, which is an AI editor,
Hmm.
which really does help, um, especially for an interview like this, unless somebody says something that they don't want to be out there, or my husband walks into the room, or whatever it is, something that you don't want to happen,
Yes.
right? Um, I don't do any cutting. I
Mm.
may add some music to it. I may not. I'm not dedicated to the musical intros and outros. So it's super easy. I throw it into the script and it cuts back and forth and it'll do reaction shots and it's great, for
Mm.
that. Mm. And I used to play around a lot. I don't know. Do you watch my podcast on YouTube or do you
I
listen to
do
it?
occasionally. I pretty much listen to all my podcasts.
Yeah, me too.
Again,
Yeah.
I like to support people. I listen to an episode of someone's podcast, and I know I've been recorded as a listener one, and then I know they're on YouTube. So do I go and watch it again so I can support them more? But
Yeah.
life continues on, so
Yeah,
you have to do what you do, and that
for
medium
sure.
is for me is listening. So,
Yeah.
but I
No,
find
I
that
understand.
you get different listeners. I asked about whether asked someone should I when I upload to YouTube should I leave it later so I can try and encourage people to listen to podcasts. And one of my sons says no because you've got different people. So the people
Yeah,
watching on YouTube are not podcast listeners. So it's just another medium. You put it out there and you're reaching more people.
that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there is a lot out there. Seems like everybody and their mother has a podcast.
Mm.
So, which is good and bad. Um, it's interesting because I'm starting a new program starting next year. It's called
Yes, I've been
Passion.
listening to.
Okay, Passion Project to Pro, which is basically how I relaunched my acting career, by curating experts and coaches and building that community and, creating income around that and all of that. And so I'm interested in getting on other people's pod. So I've been putting myself out there for that, which has been amazing, doing that. And
Mm.
it's something I recommend to actors in general. It's something, that I would recommend to my clients.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And you've
Especially
been a
if,
part of my show. You came
well,
on for
yes, I
the
have.
round
Yeah.
table.
But
So if everyone, make sure you listen to the Late Bloomer Actor, the
I
final
just
episode for season
reposted
3.
it everywhere.
That was great. It was
Yeah.
really nice. But I mean, even though I spoke to I had the 12 guests and I spoke to you all separately, but when you listen to the episode in its entirety, it's like all 12 of you were in the room at the same time. And I was amazed by how connected you all were with the topics just came and melded in. They were all very, very similar. And I had people in there that weren't actors, they were podcasters. So it was, ended up talking about story and community. So, which was the biggest topics that came out of it. It was brilliant.
So important, both of
Mm,
those things, because story is what connects us, and obviously, community as well. But I think just community as a support system, as a resource. A lot of actors don't realize how valuable other actors are as a resource,
mm,
um, and to make themselves available as a resource. The other actors can tell you about indie films that are being cast. They can tell you about other films that are being cast, right? Especially if they need somebody to self tape with them and things like that. So you never know. I think it's really important to cultivate that and to cultivate that with someone, to be aware of the 5 people that you're spending your time with, right?
mm,
So because there can be a lot of negative Nancy's in this industry, right? Where
definitely. Mm.
yeah, a lot of people can be very embittered, which I get, but it doesn't help anybody, you
No,
know?
no, and that's what's
Yeah,
good about the communities and,
yeah.
being on podcasts or listening to other shows and stuff like that is it's having someone talk about moments that affected them that you're going through and saying, "Oh,
Mm,
wow, someone else has gone through this. I'm not alone in it, and I can get through this. I'm not gonna quit my acting. I'm gonna push through and come out the other
yes,
side." Mm,
yeah. I always notice, especially, like, when I do, like, a live master class, and I'll ask kinda hard-hitting questions, in the master class. Why do you think that you don't do as much for your career as you should? Because I will have gone through kind of, like, what you should be doing for your career, and then we get there and it's like, "Oh, wow, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. Why do you think you're not doing that?" And then there's always like this long kind of like silence. And I've learned to just let it be. I take a sip of water, I let someone gather that first courage. And what I start to then say is, I guarantee you, whatever you're feeling, everybody else on this call is feeling it too. Whatever you're afraid of, everybody else is afraid of. And then the very next slide basically lists all of the fears that they will have listed in the chat. And it's like, and that's, it's not a coincidence. It's because these are really common fears.
mm,
And it's in a way beautiful because you see, wow, I'm not the only one who feels this way, And I hope that it inspires people and motivates them to do things in spite of their fear, because that's my reasoning with it.
I love that. That's almost a T-shirt quote, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it is. It's such a, and we've chosen such a difficult pastime or career, haven't we? That's there's so much negativity in it, and there's so much lack of feedback, and it's like imagine going out for a job interview 10 times a week, and never getting a job. That would be hard to handle. You look at and they're not getting the feedback. So you go for your job interview, and they go, "No problems, we'll let you know," and you walk out, and you
Yeah,
don't hear back from
right.
them. And you go,
Great. Really great. We'll call you.
yes. So you get to
Yeah.
a point where you start going, is there something wrong? Can I not do this? Am I a bad actor? I've asked that question so many times because
Mm.
you don't seem to go anywhere. And that's what I call the troughs. And then all of a sudden you get this phone call and then you're on set. Like you were just saying before, you're on set yesterday and all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, it's working. So that's what I like to share with my people, is that keep going because this is the nature of the industry and it's the nature of the world we're in. But don't let it push you
Do you
down.
know absolutely. What I feel really helps when I'm feeling rusty or disconnected from the craft is to just take a really good workshop. Get yourself in a workshop. Get yourself the feedback that you need. Like,
mm,
and maybe something isn't working, right? We plateau with our
of
talent,
course.
and then we go up, and then we plateau again. So maybe you're at a plateau, and that could be. And that's why it's doubly important to get yourself into a good workshop with with a great coach, whether that's a self-tape workshop or an improv workshop, something that's just fun, or something that really scares you, like maybe doing a stand-up, or, but I feel like it's so important to reconnect with what made you fall in love with acting in the first place,
Definitely.
because that will push you through when you're not getting that feedback. And I also, actors count bookings as winnings, period. And there's so much more that you should be counting as a win. For instance, a callback, an audition, frankly. Do you know, I
It's
mean,
mm,
yeah, just an audition is a win, because for every audition, especially like on Spotlight in the UK, they get upwards of 20,000 submissions, which is just
wow,
crazy for
absolutely
20.
amazing. Mm,
Yeah. And in the US, I know it's anywhere between 2 and 4,500 per
wow.
role. Yeah.
And now that it's all self tapes, they can do so many. And yeah, we looked at that saying, "Oh, that's going to make it even harder." But I think it actually makes it easier because there's more chance now that you're going to be seen, whereas you might not have before when they were doing it in the room because, uh, for want of a better word, you'd be lower on the pecking order. But now they reach out to you and you can have that discovery call, so
Mm,
to speak. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, self-tapes definitely have pros and cons. I think that, to me,
mm.
the biggest pro is that I can do as many retakes as I want. Even though I don't, I generally stop after about 3 or 4, because it's like,
I'm glad you
okay.
said that
Yeah.
because so many people do. They'll just keep doing it and then they get in this, they end up to 10 takes, 11, 12, 13 takes. And I find that
Yeah.
after my third or fourth take, regardless whether I'm on set or whatever, I start to lose it. It's just something happens and you start tripping over your words a little bit more. So, no,
I
do it
If
one or
I'm
two,
not
done.
getting feedback, then yes, I
Mm,
agree, right? But
mm,
if I get feedback, then I have a new impulse or a new inspiration, and then I can try something else. But if
mm,
it's just me doing a self tape with somebody on Zoom or something, and if they're not offering any input, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, then I mean, like, that's kind of how I thought to do it. So I don't know. You have any ideas? you know? so,
exactly right. And then you end up just submitting the tape and then when you don't hear back, then you go, oh, I should have listened to myself and done it the other way, but you can't get into that cycle, can you? Because
no.
you deliver your work is your work, and deliver it and believe in yourself that you're delivering what you can deliver. And
Yeah,
if they
for
want it,
sure.
they'll take it. But you're right, being in the room with a director, with a casting director, so be different because they may they'll know more information and they'll say, I love what you've done with the character, but I would like to see it this way.
Yeah.
Or that's great, love what you did there. How about we try it this way just for something different? Or they'll give you that direction, which might be an artistic approach that you didn't think about. So
Yeah.
having that direction, as opposed to feedback, but direction is wonderful. And that's what I do miss because I take direction really well,
Yeah.
uh, and then can deliver some really good work when someone with a different approach or a different look at the character or the scene asks you to do something. So
Yeah. Same. I appreciate that. But on the other hand, too, I know I've gotten roles that I never would have gotten because of self tapes. Like I
beautiful.
just did a Netflix series recently, or the Hallmark Christmas movie that I shot. I never would have gotten those if it weren't for self tapes.
Mm,
So,
beautiful.
but I also find, like, the more irreverent I am with an audition, like, it's the auditions that I just either just have a lot of fun with, or I'm like, "Ugh, I don't have time. All right, I'm doing 2 takes, period. That's it, done." I don't care. And you just kind of
Mm,
do it. Those are the ones that usually do the best. I don't know
mm.
if that's your experience, but that's,
No, yeah, definitely. And I listen to a lot of actors on other podcasts that say the same thing. That the show they really wanted or the role they wanted, and they put all the effort in, and they do the 10 takes, and they they really work sharp.
Hire a
They don't
coach.
get it. And then
Yeah.
the other one where they get, "Oh, this is not really the project I want, but it's a good role. It do be well. Okay, I'll just throw the audition together," and that's the one they get. Or they they tried something, just didn't meld with their audition. They didn't feel right. And they go, "Oh, I've completely screwed that. Oh well, I'll go for the next job," and that's the role they get. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
You
it's a big
honestly
learning lesson
just
for that.
don't know. Yeah, for
No.
sure. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
A lot of it has to do, I think, also with understanding why you get picked, why you get the audition in the first place, what it is that, like how clear your branding is,
mm.
right? And so you're getting picked because of your energetic signature, your type, your brand, whatever you want to call, even if you have not put in the conscious effort to have a brand,
Mm.
you have one. Whether you know it or not, you have one. And whether
Yes.
you put in the work or not, you have one. So
Mm.
you're going to be getting chosen because of that. So I always say it behooves you to figure out what that thing is that people are calling you in for,
Mm.
you know? Because
It
when you know that, that's what you can play with, deliver and
Yeah.
play with.
And I know you talk about that a lot, about finding that branding, and I think sometimes you may never find it. But it also scares people, because when we say the word branding, they think of marketing and they think of developing something, and not about making something. You don't have to make your brand. It's like you said, it's about what is what is selling for you? What are they buying? And working out what that is, and then enhancing it, so to speak. But if you don't work it out, then you don't have to panic. I don't have a brand. Just be you. Just be you. That's what you're selling.
Well, this is why I'm saying I don't, you do have a brand. Everybody does,
Mm,
whether they know it or not. And this is why it's, find a coach that can help you with that. There are tons of branding coaches
mm.
out there, tons and tons and tons. So find somebody who can help you, or put a group of actors together and there are lots of branding exercises that you can do as an actor.
Okay.
So the most important thing is understanding what you want. I think you probably know more than you think you do, David. And
Thank you.
honestly, because this is often the case with people, one of the exercises I do on one of the master classes that I do occasionally is I'll do breakout rooms, and each person goes into the breakout room neutrally to observe who else is in there. And they're not supposed to say anything. They're just supposed to observe and write down 3 to 4 adjectives for the other people in the room. And when everybody's finished doing that, then they can introduce themselves. And then we all come back. And generally, not only are people like not surprised with the adjectives they get, um, it just reaffirms that for them.
Mm.
And also, generally, people are not surprised once someone has spoken to them. Like you get a vibe from people. Like we make
Mm.
split-second decisions about people when we see them, even when we're not aware of it. We're making
Of
these
course.
split second. Yeah. I had I was staying at an Airbnb years and years and years ago, and it was an artist, and they were looking for uh, an art project for their thesis, I think it was. And my suggestion to them was, you should have a photo booth and have people go in with a neutral expression and have a picture taken, and then have all of these pictures up and let people choose from chosen adjectives so that nobody's writing horrible things about someone. But, well, but there are adjectives that are perceived as bad, but are not necessarily bad, right? So, bitchy. I mean, it's not necessarily a warm and fuzzy thing, but for an actor, that's very useful.
Of course. Mm.
And so, anyway, I don't know if they ever did it or not, but I thought it would be a super interesting thing because people do make split-second decisions.
Mm.
Just like, look at this picture. It's there for 3 seconds, now it's gone, write down what you got, what your adjectives were for that person.
That's
Typical
interesting. Mm.
actor thing, right?
No, I love it. That's very, very interesting. And I've done the objective thing, and you're right. How people perceive you just on that initial image, whether they've just seen you or they're listening to you or whatever, is quite interesting, and it resonates with you real quick. And you go, "Oh my god, yeah, I can see that now." Whereas you wouldn't have been able to pick it yourself, but as soon as you
Yeah.
hear it, you can see where people are coming from. So I do see the positive sides of working out your branding in that aspect for sure,
The reason it's so important is so that you know why you're being chosen.
or not chosen.
Well,
Wouldn't it? Y
mm, I would say that the casting
No?
directors, for the most part, are pretty savvy, so if your pictures are a good reflection of you, and this is another reason why it's so important to understand your brand,
Mm,
because sometimes people will choose pictures just because they're good. I have been guilty
okay.
of this, right? And not necessarily because they're showing who you are.
Okay.
And when you have headshots that are reflective of who you are, then you are getting chosen for what you bring. And then you know, oh, I just need to be myself. I just need to be authentic. Because the days of, unless you're doing a lot of theater, but film and television, the days of being a chameleon and acting and slipping into these roles, nobody wants to see you act. They just want to see you be.
Mm.
They wanna see the truth. I don't know about you, but, a lot of times people are like, "Oh, you're an actor, you must be a good liar." I'm a terrible liar, you know? And the reason is and I always say this because it always kind of, but acting is not about lying, it's about telling the truth. You just have to
Oh,
find it.
definitely. Mm,
Yeah.
mm. And, yeah, and that's one it's one reason why a lot of shows or a lot of casting directors now are reaching out and they're walking the street and they're plucking people off the street and casting what they advertise as real people. Because you go, well, hang on, I've done all this acting work. I've been to a 3 year degree to get my acting degree and everything like that. Why are they picking people off the street? Because they're looking for that realism, that truth telling, so to
Mm.
speak, and it works. It's a very different medium now. If you go back to the black and white days where they acted and it was acting and everyone you could see the method that was in there, the way they delivered it, because that
It's
was how it was
Meisner.
done.
Right.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
how it was
yeah,
done.
absolutely, yeah.
But now we've got the Breaking Bads and everything like that, where you feel like it's real, and people have got flaws, and the characters have got scars, real scars, and or weathered skin and everything like that. That's what they're looking for now. So
Yeah.
that's what you need to have an understanding of, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is why it is so important to understand what it is that you bring. Nobody else can, right? Because we
Mm.
are all special snowflakes. But what are your points? What are your crystals? What is making you sparkle? That's really kind of the key because again, when you know that, then you can lean into that.
Mm.
As opposed to what do I think they want to see in this scene? For this audition? No. How would I play this under these given circumstances? How would I react under these given circumstances? And that's where you are going to deliver a super authentic performance and probably something that nobody else will have the nuances that you have because you are you.
I love that because there's a casting director here in Australia called Greg Apps that I've done
Oh,
some
I love
mentoring
Greg.
with.
Yeah.
Greg is
Yeah. Yeah.
great,
Yeah.
and he said to me once, after I delivered his scene, he says, "No, David, I don't want to see David Clark the actor. I want to see
Mm.
David Clark. I want to see
Yes.
you in this
Yeah.
role. Yes, you're acting, and yes, you're creating a character, and yes, this isn't you, but I want to see you in this scene." And it's exactly what you just said. And yeah, and you're right. Well, I think as actors, we really need to have to learn that and understand that. Yes, we've got to go and do all the acting classes and know how to do the job, but it all boils down to still being you in the chosen moment.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. And And also realizing, because you said that, okay, people get very frightened when they think I have to sell something.
Mm,
You know, your agent has many horses in many races. You have one horse in one race. So you've got to do everything you can to make sure that your horse in this race, this one life that we all have, gets to where you want it to go. And relying on somebody else. So, one thing I was really, stress for my clients is radical accountability, radical honesty. Because unless you're starting from a place of, I don't know, you know, or maybe you do know, because honestly, I work with trained actors who have been in the business for a few years. That's like my I don't work with beginning actors. So they do know a lot, but what they know a lot about the craft of acting, but they don't know a lot about the business of being an actor.
mm.
And whether you like it or not, you are a product, right?
Yeah,
And
it's a pity that they don't deliver that at schools, whether it's a 3-year degree or your 12-month degree or even the 6-week courses. That there's not a lot more of the business side of acting there,
yeah,
because it's such a big component of what you have to do to make
yeah.
it work. And they come out and think, oh, that's it. I'm a trained
Ready
actor
to
now,
go.
and I'll take my awards. Thank you.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's not like that. So
No, and honestly, I mean, there's really, or at least there wasn't, when I went to school, and I don't think it's changed much, when I speak with younger actors. They do, like you say, a 3-year degree, a 4-year degree, whatever it may be. And then they come out and they're like, okay, here I am, world, all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and nobody cares.
no.
And which is sad. And it doesn't have to be that way if they were just prepared a little bit for that.
Definitely. And how many actors have quit because they didn't know that that was required? And
Yeah.
when the fame and fortune, or just when the jobs didn't roll in, they've gone, well, I obviously don't have it. And then they've quit and they've gone and done something else, which is a shame because they probably did have it. And all they needed to do was work out this business side of things and push through. So,
Yeah.
mm. And that's what's great about your podcast and my podcast and all the podcasts I listen to is about that information being out there and finding it. And we live in such a wonderful world now where information is just so easily attainable at low
Yes.
cost or zero cost. And then
Mhm.
you can work out what melds with you and find your group that works for you and learn from that and push forward. Whereas, in the old days, you would never know some of this stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
There was one book, basically, I'm trying to think, Gillespie was her name. I can't think of her name right now or the name of the book, but there was like one book, it's about this thick. I have it on one of my shelves somewhere. But it's, it was like how to be an actor in LA.
Mm.
And it kind of like it was truly the business of being an actor, and it's a really good book, and it was pretty current and good, I would say, and I would say it's probably still, a lot of things are very
Relevant. Hmm.
applicable. Yeah, relevant, thank you. Um, but for me, it kind of boils down to, I mean, to simplify it, it boils down to 2 things. Or you can say maybe 3 things, the ABCs of having, of a thriving acting career, right? You have to have an achiever's mindset, because mindset is 80% of everything. The other 20% is just, mechanics, mentorship, whatever. Then you need to have the business savvy. So you need to understand what you have to do to have a thriving acting career. And again, for me, it's mindset, branding, marketing, networking, and community. Those are the 5
Mm.
pillars for me of a thriving
Beautiful.
acting. And then lastly, it's craft mastery. You have to be able to act.
Mm.
But once you understand that, you could even make it simpler, because you need to know how to act. That's the number one thing always, always. Duh, right? But after that, when you're not working on your craft or working on a job, then you're working on getting a job. And that all
Mm.
boils down to a pitch of one form or another.
Definitely. mm.
And whether that's, trying to get an agent or a better agent or trying to get on a casting director's radar or even the conversations that we're having, right, with
Yes.
other people in the industry. It's all some sort of a pitch, even and you don't want it to sound like a pitch unless it's an obvious pitch, like, "I would like to have a conversation about being in your agency," you know,
And it
or
doesn't have to be, people think as soon as you start talking pitching and stuff like that, it sounds scary, but it's not.
Mhm.
It's just something you have to do as an actor, and then and like anything in the acting world, that once you've done it a couple of times, it just becomes a natural flow. And it just becomes part of the
Totally.
process. So,
Yeah. And
mm,
storytelling can really be woven into it,
of course,
especially with the soft pitches, right? It's all about planting seeds, and stories are great for that.
mm,
So without saying, they know you're an actor. You don't have to tell them again and again. They know it. So
yes.
what can you say around that?
And yeah, it's like going back to Greg Apps again. He talks a lot about that, and he says one of the things that he'll delete straight away is when he gets an email and it says, "Hi, I'm so and so. I'm an actor." Delete. I know. So
Oh,
they might have
no.
had the best
Yeah.
pitch and they might have had the best write up, but the moment you say,
Right.
"I'm an actor," to a casting director, uh, you're gone. And it is, you believe in yourself. You don't have to
Yeah.
tell them who you are. They know who you are.
Yeah.
Uh,
So funny you say that. Do you know that's how all the Germans introduce themselves in their slates?
Seriously?
Seriously.
Wow.
They'll be, "Hi, I'm Ann Alexander Cedar. I'm a trained actor. I'm blah, 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 blah." Yeah. That is how they
Wow.
introduce themselves here. And it's kind of mind blowing, isn't it?
Is
And
that
I
a requirement, or is it just something that has just
I
become
honestly don't know. I've just seen it again and again and again and again and again. It's a really good question. I should ask the Germans where that comes from
now, do you
because
do it when you go in the room?
no, well, I barely ever go in the room, but
Of course.
no,
Oh,
no,
that's good.
well,
You can
I
be
do
the
it for
leader of change.
commercials. I do it for commercials though, because commercial, they're not always casting. They might have non actors who are also auditioning. So I
Yeah.
always do it for when I'm auditioning for a commercial, but I don't do it when I'm auditioning for
Okay.
film or television.
Wow, that's really cool. Interesting. It's great to see the intricacies and the differences between countries. Then just something like that just can blow your mind away. Go, wow.
Yeah.
Mm, mm,
And I mean, I never really thought about it until I moved here. And, I would see actors get up again and again and say, "Hi, I'm so and so, I'm an actor." And I was like, why do you say that? Of course you're an
mm.
actor. Why would you be in this room if you weren't an actor? Why would you be auditioning? Right.
It's like
But
going in for an interview as a mechanic and say, "Hi, I'm David Clark. I'm a mechanic." Yeah, there's a bunch of cars behind you. It's okay.
exactly. Yeah,
Oh,
that's funny.
well, okay. I
Yeah.
guess it doesn't change anything, but yeah, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So when was the last time you worked with Greg?
Um, I've I still see him a lot online. I mean, I've done all the courses now, so I've sort of moved to other areas now, but I reach out all the time and we chat and connect and stuff.
He's
So
great. I love him
he
and
is.
Robin. Yeah.
Yeah, and the support of actors is just wonderful. And again, this is coming back to what we said at the start of the podcast. Is about finding those people that can be your backbone and be your leg up. And they just love all their actors so much, and they are open and honest. And that's the big thing there, is someone's willing to tell you when you're wrong.
Yeah.
Because you don't want people in your corner that saying, "You're the best actor. I love what you did there. It's beautiful."
Yeah.
Because we see that on TV shows like The Voice and stuff, when someone comes up and they start singing their audition and you go, they can't sing. And
Mhm.
all their life, their mother, as much as we love our mothers and that, they don't want to tell you that you suck. So
Yeah.
you need those people who are willing to give you the positive feedback as well as the negative feedback, so that you can learn from that and grow from that and change and know who you are and know
Yeah.
what your branding is. Yeah. So that's how you learn it, by people telling you the truth.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Greg does that. Greg's not I've got, a bunch of other mentors that I listen to that are the same. So I'm training with Les Chantieri at the moment, and he's the same.
Mm.
He's absolutely brilliant in identifying what's your good and bad sides, and then pushing what you need to push, and
Oh, I
telling
love
you the
that.
truth. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. I worked with a great coach, out of Australia. I'm tired. It's late. Ferrant, Kim Ferrant. And, she's actually a director, but she
Okay.
also coaches. She directed, was it Badlands with, Nicole Kidman?
Oh, maybe that's why I know. Yeah,
Kim
because the name
Ferrant.
sounds familiar. I'll have to
Yeah.
look her up.
She's
Yeah, definitely.
really good. And she does coach in Australia occasionally. Her workshop is called Raw Truth, and I
Okay. I
highly
love that.
recommend it.
Mm,
Yes.
mm.
Highly it's really good. I mean, it's like rock your life good. Yeah. Seriously. When I got done with that workshop, it was like shiatsu of the soul. I mean, it was like literally like kneading these painful knots that have been there since I was formed, you know. And and I think I need another couple of good massages, but we're
Don't
not
we
done
all?
yet. Right. It was
And
really,
look,
really good. Yeah.
and that's great. Yeah, and this is what actors need to realize is that there are so many avenues for you to find what you need. And if you go down one avenue and it doesn't work or it doesn't meld with you, then look for another one, because something will work for you, and it'll be career changing. And then you go with it. And then when you've exhausted that approach and you think this is just not working again, reach out, find another one. But it's about keeping
Absolutely.
yourself going, and working the muscles, working the acting muscles, and keeping it up. So it's the long road, as they say, acting, isn't it?
It is. You know, the I think the tough thing about being on the actor's journey is that most journeys, you know the stops along the way, you know the end destination, and you've got a rough idea when you're going to get there. And none of that applies to actors.
No, but it comes
See,
eventually.
I think it does.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
as long as you keep at it, and I mean, and when I say keep at it, I mean really keep at it, not just be sort of like peripherally, on an agent's roster, but like really doing the work, really marketing yourself, really putting yourself out there, really building those connections. Because at the end of the day, people like to work with people they like, and nobody can hire you if they don't know you're alive. So, yeah, it's really important to make sure that they know you're alive and they know
definitely.
you can act. Yeah.
And know that your work will come through. You can go for months and not have an audition or not hear anything, but as long as you're doing all that work, and keeping it up and being an actor in the area, it's going to come eventually. The moment you stop doing that or quit is the moment that no one's going to see you anymore. So of
Yeah.
course it's not going to work. So it's just hard, and we talked about it before. It's about not getting that feedback, and having those moments where you just start to doubt yourself, and you have to know that keep digging, so to speak. I remember seeing a meme once of two guys digging a tunnel trying to get the diamonds, and one guy's turned around, he's quit, he's had enough, and there's a thin little bit of wall left, and behind that wall is the diamonds, and then there's
Yeah.
another digger
I've
underneath
seen
him
that.
who's just
Yeah.
about to hit it. So you keep pushing through, and eventually you're going to break through that wall, and the diamonds will be there. So
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that's a good note to end on. So before we close out, I have one question that I always ask every guest. What is one time in your life, it doesn't have to be acting, but it can be, where you've acted boldly and what was the outcome?
ah,
Uncharacteristically bold, I would say.
I reckon bring me back to, was it my first major acting role in an independent film called Antares, which is a sci-fi. It was originally a short film that they made so much it became a long short film, so to speak. But I did a self tape for it, and I was down at a beach called a town called Normanville here. It's our annual family trip down there in October, and they needed my audition that weekend. And so I've just grabbed my camera out on the beach and I've just delivered something. The role was for security officer on this spaceship. And I delivered a scene where I was talking to camera and I was on shore leave as
I
the
love it.
character.
Yeah.
And so I had the beach in the background and I just talked from the heart because I didn't have a script to do. They just wanted something to camera in character. And I was talking about I'm away from the ship now and I'm worried about what's going while I'm not there, but I need my time and everything, but I'm here to support the captain and everything. And the boldness of what I delivered there is what got me the role, because they said to me afterwards when they gave me the role, they said, your audition was so different. Everyone else was bang, bang, guns. I'm going to be gung ho and support and do this. Whereas you connected on a personal level to yourself and to the
There you
captain.
go. Yeah.
And I didn't even think. I've just delivered what felt right at the moment. So,
Mm. And
and
you got
that's
the
a
part.
big thing. And I
Yeah.
got the part. So
Yeah.
something worked there. And I think that's what you really need to learn, is that sometimes it's just about you. Just deliver
Yeah.
who you are and believe in
Yes.
yourself when you turn that camera on.
Absolutely. And you know what else I love about that? We don't always have to have that blue background or that gray background behind us.
Exactly. No, sometimes it
Yeah.
works. I know casting directors say, no, I'll be looking at things, but sometimes it just
Pull
works.
yourself
And some,
together. It's your job, woman. Right?
figure it out. Don't look at the teacup. You're not. It's a
Right.
teacup. Look at me. But you're
Exactly.
right. Sometimes, yes, most of the time we've got to do it blue screen. That's fine. That's what they want. That's what we do because we've got the lighting set up and we've got the sound set up. But if you're in a position where you don't have that, then just think outside the box and deliver something.
Absolutely.
Be
And
real.
hey,
Be
we
you.
all have cinematic mode on our phones these days. You can
Yeah.
blur out the background, you know. I mean, if
Yeah.
this was supposed to be a beach, obviously I'd put a blue background behind me. But right,
Mm.
if it's supposed to be an office, a living room, you know, whatever, right? So, and there are parts of it that you know, depending on what it is, but I could just do something where it was just the bookcase and you're seeing that,
Yeah.
and then that all of a sudden looks much more like a politician or something like that. So
True.
there are as long as you are the main focus, they should be able to handle it. And I've asked this question of so many casting directors who have
Mhm.
been on my show, and they all say, you know, yes, definitely. You know, if it even if it could, like, we've also been trained not to use props, right? Don't use a prop. Um, but if you're a bartender and it makes sense that you're cleaning some glasses while you're having this conversation, that kind of adds to the realism of it. And throw
True.
that towel over your shoulder and all. It's okay. Just don't let that thing be bigger than you are, right?
Yeah, don't rely on it, so to speak. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's something that for everyone is just be you. We've said it 100 times, haven't we? Just deliver you on character. Don't worry about what's in the background. Use it, don't use it, whatever. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, the casting director is looking at what you're delivering on screen. And if you've used a bad camera or bad lighting, don't panic about that. That's fine. As long as they can see you and they can hear you and you're delivering a good stuff, you'll make it.
Well, David, this has been such a pleasure. I'm glad we were finally able to make it work.
Beautiful.
Thank you
Thank you very
so
much.
much for coming onto the show. And let us know in the comments what your favorite part of this episode was. If you had any aha moments or if it just kind of reinforced what you already know, just let us know in the comments. And if you want to reach out to David, you can find David for sure at the Late Bloomer Actor. And where else? Where else can people find you, David?
I'm on all the social media, both under the Late Bloomer Actor or David John Clark Actor is my acting pages. So if you type into Google, I'm the first one that comes up, and that's a big business aspect there too. They tell you, if you could type your name into Google and you're in the top 10 there, people will find you. So that's where you find me.
Perfect.
There's David John Clark with no E on Clark. I can't afford the E, as I like to say.
Thank
Thank you.
you
It's
so
been
much.
wonderful to come on, and we've talked about this, and it's why I had you on my show. It's about that collaboration. It's about reaching your audience and reaching my audience, and if we can have one person walk away from something we've said and they've learnt something from that, or it's changed their mindset, then we've won, haven't we?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah.
So,
Or even just made one person feel like, "Oh, wow," they have these fears, these self-doubts, these things that we kinda talked about laughingly, but hey, they're real, for
beautiful,
for
yes.
for all of us.
So,
So, yeah.
thank you very much. It's
All
been an
right.
absolute blast.
Good. I will see you soon.
See you on set.